they say?
Well, as expected, the Fed kept their target rate consistent at 5.25 to 5.50. This is the fifth consecutive meeting where they've made no change up or down. In addition, they indicated that there's a possibility for 3 rate cuts by year end. Now, this is also consistent with what they forecasted in December. Fed Chair Powell, during the course of his press conference, did say that, we probably have reached peak target rate and that it might be appropriate to start cutting rates before year end. And finally, the Fed did reveal that they are discussing slowing down the purchases of securities via their balance sheet. Now, they didn't give a number and they didn't give a time, but they did say that may start fairly soon. So nothing officially changed, but it does sure look like the Fed wants to start to loosen monetary policy in some way by the end of the year. There was nothing overwhelmingly surprising from the meeting, but I will point to the fact that Fed Chair Powell said that we do think we've hit peak rates. That kind of jumped off to me. What that does is take the outside chance of a rate hike off the table. The January and February inflation prints have really surprised to the upside. And Powell didn't dismiss this, but what he said was that this really reinforces the narrative that getting back to 2% inflation isn't a straight line. It's going to be a bumpy road. We've made substantial progress, in his words, on inflation, but the economy is still strong. Jobs are still robust, so they can remain cautious and not cutting rates at this past meeting and still take their time. What he did say, in his words, were the risks are two-sided. If you go too quickly, you're going to undo all the good work that you've done. But if you wait too long, something may break and you may have unintended consequences. So they're trying to, walk a fine line. But again, they've acknowledged that it might be time to loosen some of monetary policy. Well, it certainly seems that a June cut may be in play. First, the May meeting, they could actually signal that it's coming. Second, this would set them up for a cadence of June, September, and December to make the 3 cuts that they're forecasting. And this would be in line with when they announced their summary of economic projections. So it would be a clear, consistent messaging point. Now, this is all data dependent, but it certainly does look like June is in play. In regards to the balance sheet runoff, that could actually happen sooner rather than later. And it may even happen before the May meeting. So as you recall, the Fed uses their balance sheet to provide liquidity to market in times of extreme stress, extreme market volatility. They've so far run off over $1 trillion, but there's still $7 trillion left. There's a lot of room to grow. I mean, it's still double what it was pre-COVID. But the Fed's aware that the market needs to remain liquid, and they're draining that liquidity out at the moment. And they're careful not to make a mistake. They've made mistakes in the past. So again, they didn't give you a number, but they're thinking they want to try and marry the level of runoff with what's appropriate to keep the money markets operating functionally. So again, it's a fine line they're walking to try and achieve this soft landing, but at least they're aware and cognizant that they need to do this. I don't think that the narrative's changed too much. We still think there's a lot of attractive valuation in the bond markets, but history will show you that you want to be positioned before the first cuts come. Again, it certainly looks like we're going to see some loosening of monetary policy, whether it's a cut in the next couple of months or definitely some sort of slowing of the balance sheet runoff. But monetary policy is loosening, and we've seen that you want to be positioned beforehand. If nothing were to happen, the valuations in high-quality fixed income show you that you can just sit there, earn carry, and potentially get greater total return if, in fact, the Fed does cut or the balance sheet runoff does have a more serious impact than the market expects. But we still think nothing really changed. We still think this is a good time for high-quality bonds. Given what happened with the Fed yesterday and really the state of the bond market today, we like high-quality intermediate duration. And for Hartford Funds, that's total return bond fund. It's primarily investment grade. It has a 5 to 7 year duration. And given the rate back up in 2022, most bonds in the investment grade bonds in the universe are still priced at a pretty significant discount. So even if nothing were to happen, you could sit in a fund like that and earn some carry. However, if rates were to go down quicker, or the Fed was to cut quicker, or there was some unknown out there to put us in a risk-off market, the potential for appreciation in those bonds could accelerate in that environment. So we would look to something like Hartford Total Return Bond.